My gut tells me that they were ambushed.
So, I had assumed this whole time for 6 months now that it happened in the middle of the night.
And now we know it was the middle of the day. Absolutely.
Broad daylight.
Broad daylight.
I don't want to get her involved in this. I don't want to ruin her life. Like, if something like this, I don't want her involved in this. Okay?
At some point, Chris locates what's called a dry bag.
Brian Laundrie's body has been found. Law enforcement had considered Laundrie the only person of interest in the murder of his fiancée, Gabby Petito.
You're the one that filed the missing persons report.
Yeah, and I'll totally come forward with that.
That's all it is the truth. So there's nothing to hide in that coroner's report. There's nothing to hide by not having Kelly take a polygraph. And if the truth comes out, and this was a...
How do you deal with it? I had to sneak the other day when I was with Josie. I had to sneak and talk to him. I had to sneak and talk to him about his sister.
Makes me think the worst. Like, did you do that to all three of them?
Hi everyone, thanks for being here. Hello, Sleepless in South Africa, KezChick56, Debbie, K Danielle, CDT, BLN, everyone in chat, anyone I didn't shout out, I see you and I really appreciate you all being here. And we kind of have to get sort of right into it because as I was trying to find...
So the plan was maybe to buy a house. I think you told me...
Where we had left off, I realized that we're only an hour and a half into this. And we started this pretty much right at the 3-year mark since they did this interview, which was in like mid-February. And then we got dropped the NK interview that we've been waiting to see for 3 years. So that sort of sidetracked myself on Watts Island and everybody else on Watts Island for a little bit. So now that dust has settled from that storm of her interview being released, I'm realizing that we have to get into this and it's over 4 hours long. So this is going to be like a listen and react like we've been doing. So if I have to react, obviously I will pause it and speak to you guys in chat. So we'll just get right into it. And I think some of the things that we've uncovered in parts 1 through 3 is a lot of his answers are being fed to him by the agents, specifically Tammy, in my opinion. A little bit of all of them, but yeah, it seems like we can rely on the fact that this confession, in my opinion, and I'm pretty sure chat feels the same way, that this isn't a reliable confession. Like, I'm curious actually in chat, and for those who are watching this on replay, like down below in the comments, let me know, like, do you believe everything that Chris has said in this prison interview? I just don't think that we've gotten the truth. And hello, good girl, Karen, Valerie, Pink Dahlia. All right, so let me just press play and we'll just start listening. And yeah, I'm seeing I don't at all and no. Yeah, it's just very frustrating. And we have seen over and over in this interview him insinuate that there was more people around the night that everything was taking place. Call it a Freudian, oh my gosh. Freudian slip? Why can't I say that? His subconscious speaking the truth. Freud. Oh my gosh, I can't. All right, let me just get into this. You guys know what I'm talking about.
Brighton, you think about buying a house in Brighton?
Yeah, just like that Adams 12 school system or something. Yeah. So
okay.
I think that's what Brighton is.
Yeah.
What were you thinking about when you called the school that day on Monday?
I was freaking out. I didn't know, like I was thinking in my head, like, what I just did, what I just done, and I didn't know, like, it was stupid to do anything. To call the school, to call Ann, to call anybody. I mean, they were right to be, suspicious about anything. Like, 'cause I knew I probably sounded eccentric on the phone and out of sorts. And just, I don't even know what they were thinking. They heard me.
I think they thought it was weird, but I don't know how you would not sound weird, like you said.
So are you 100% sure the girls were still around and alive when you drove out? Okay. So that's completely accurate. There's nothing else about that.
They got in the truck.
Okay.
Where did the blanket go?
So there at that moment, when he said they got in the truck, we're talking about some of his truths and lies throughout these hours on hours. But I do believe, and I feel like he sounds like he's telling the truth. Of course, do we know for sure? No. But I do believe that I've seen what appears to be shadows of Chris picking one of the kids up, and they left in the truck with him, I believe. The kids, in my opinion.
Either it's probably in the trash can or something, I think.
In the trash?
It wasn't like, it was still in my truck.
Okay. We thought we saw some GPS where you had stopped by near construction roll-off dumpster. Is that true, or?
I think that's like, I dumped my clothes in there.
So that would have been on the way back to the house?
My neighborhood.
Yeah. When Officer Kunab was there? Okay. Was it one of those red construction dumpsters?
More than likely.
Okay.
Did you pack new clothes? How did that work?
I already have some in there, because like, in case we have like a spill or something,
Oh.
if you ever get crude oil on you, you don't. Yeah, I have like 2 pairs of boots, all kinds of different stuff in there, just because like just one time I had to pick up a spill and I had defrost on, and I had like a headache for like 2 weeks because it's like the crude oil that comes. So I always have something in there.
So where did you keep them after you took them off? Like, did you just change out there into your new other clothes?
So like I dumped my clothes in that dumpster.
But that wasn't that on the way back? When you were coming? Like, you had already worked the whole day, right?
I worked like till like 11 or so.
Yeah. So that was back when Nicole Atkinson.
Yeah, when she was at my house, hit the doorbell, that's when I knew someone was at the house.
Right.
Did you think right then, like, oh fuck, like here we go? Or what were you thinking then?
I didn't even know why she was there. I was like, I didn't know, like, maybe she had an appointment or something with Shanann. I didn't know.
What did you think, like, that day, like, what you were going to say?
So thank you so much, Delaney, for that super sticker and super chat. And we obviously try to keep the memories alive of the victims by digging for the truth. I think that helps keep their memories alive too, in my opinion. And I'm sure that chat can agree too that, this case has just touched us on so many levels personally, and just, curiosity wise and all that. It's just, unbelievable at times. For Chris dumping his clothes in the dumpster, I just wonder why exactly he did that, because it just seems like at that point he had already changed his outfit more than once anyways. Like when he's loading his truck, it looks like he's wearing black shirt, but then Troy, and then earlier in this interview, Chris mentioned being in a blue shirt. I don't know, it's just very confusing. Yes, BLN says, yes, we want the truth for Shanann, Bella, Cece, and Nico.
Like, what was your plan? Were you just going to go home and be like, report to the police that your family's gone?
Also, I find it interesting that the first thing, like Tammy's trying to figure out what is going through his head when they pulled up that night or that day when Nicole Atkinson was at the house. And it's interesting that like that was the first thing that he was kind of confused by. Like why Nicole was at the house. Like it just seemed like even though they couldn't get into the Shanann's phone because she changed the passcode, I think that I mean, even NK and her dad said the same thing. Like, what made Nicole Atkinson get there so quick? Which is all whatever at this point. But it's just so interesting that seemed to have really caused trouble for Chris, NK, and NK's dad. Like, they all said the same thing. Like, what made Nicole Atkinson get there so quick? Like, it really was something that was like really the wrench in the plan too, like in addition to them not being able to get into Shanann's phone.
I had I had no idea what was going to happen. Like after everything, I mean, I don't even know how I was even acting even normal to people that I was around. Because when like Troy and Cody and Chad and Melissa and all them, like, when they showed up on the site, I don't even know how I was even being somewhat even coherent what I was saying, but apparently they understood me. So I didn't know what was going to happen. Like I said, this wasn't like something like some Criminal Minds type.
Like well thought out.
Yeah, it wasn't nothing like that.
You're just minute by minute at that point.
Yeah, it was. I had no idea what was going to happen.
So once the girls were gone, was it also just a minute by minute thing as far as the oil tanks?
Yeah, I didn't know what to do. I mean, just thinking about an oil tank just makes me want to fill up.
And was that just because it was in front of you and there it was and just presented itself? It wasn't a plan beforehand? Okay. Was there any...
So if Chris did this all himself, like why would he be so sick by the idea of like the oil tank? He said, oh, it makes me want to throw up. Why all of a sudden is that something that's just, if we're to believe everything that took place, and again, this is all before that Cato book came out, about him stomping one of them in the tanks, blah, blah, blah. Like this is all before that. So, things just got altered, like, by the time Cato's book came out, for sure. He didn't even know he was being recorded here.
Reason why the separate ones?
No, it's like you said, it was like going up the stairs and it just didn't.
And for the longest time, like I'd always wondered why the separate tanks, and I just feel like more and more that it was because it was more than one person there disposing at the same time.
No, like what Frank said is like I was trying to separate everybody. That's not.
No.
I didn't want to separate anybody.
What was the reason?
I can't even tell you. It was like I said, like something else was in control of what I was doing, and it was like I was doing something I never thought I would ever do in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Did you think there would be less chance of someone finding them if they were in separate tanks, or?
I don't know. Sounds like.
I think even the agents are kind of confused by the separate tanks because you can see that they're kind of asking questions specifically around the fact that they were all separated, like not even just from Shanann, the fact that they were just separated in separate tanks, it just seems like they're wondering that too.
Whatever my reasoning was in my head that day, it wasn't sound. Nothing was right.
And you don't even remember thinking about it?
No, it was just like like a reaction of something that I wasn't even thinking about.
Yeah.
You talk about the trash bags. Do you remember that?
Oh, with
there were two.
Oh, okay. Yeah, trying to, because like she kept, I didn't want to, like when I was putting this one coherent, I guess, thing I had, like I didn't want the girls looking at Shanann while they were in the back seat.
So what'd you do?
Put a trash bag on one end and on her feet and on her head, so they didn't have to see.
Okay. And they were just too little to kind of figure out, right?
Yeah, they didn't know this.
Okay. That's good.
I just know, like when I was driving up there, I mean, you know, they were just, you know, sitting there just, you know, kind of asleep or kind of just like, you know, holding on to each other, laying in each other's laps. You know, I didn't.
I agree, Kay Danielle. She said he doesn't know what to say about the trash bags. It did seem like he was kind of fumbling there, kind of, I don't know. And she wasn't found with trash bags on her head and feet anyways. So, right? Like, I'm not getting confused, right? Like, she was found, you know, there wasn't trash bags on her head. So it's interesting that he's saying, I don't know. I'll be interested to see if he says something about taking them off.
Do you remember having any thoughts or thinking about why not just putting them all together with Shanann?
Honestly, it was just happening so fast. I had no time to really have a thought that was my own.
Okay.
But I wasn't like dutifully trying to separate anybody, passing away, trying to keep anybody separate. And everything, you know, Frank, Sandy, and Frankie said, you know, like I don't hold it against them. I mean, they can hate me for. They have a right to hate me for the rest of their lives.
They don't hate
They
you.
don't. In fact, while we're on the subject, I speak with them weekly, and I told them that we were going to come here, and then hopefully would speak with us. And they told me to tell you, understandably, they're devastated. But they actually said that they love you. They still love you. And Sandy explained it. You know, he's our son-in-law for 8 years. I can't just turn that off. So they don't hate you. They don't.
Like you're attracted.
You know, I knew if it was ever, you know,
Sorry,
if we ever went.
pause it and I skipped. But yeah, if what Baumhover, do you believe Baumhover here? Like about the Rusek said he was our son-in-law for 8 years. We can't just turn that off, like, and they don't hate him. Because if that's what they were saying this close to the deaths, it just seems like maybe their hate has grown. Like, I don't know. This just, what do you guys think? Let me find it while you guys start letting me know what you think in chat.
Just like, no, this needs to end. Like, I don't want people.
And were you just going to go home and be like,
I mean, whatever my reasoning was in my head that day, it was
Good people.
I would have figured they would have. But I wasn't like dutifully trying to separate anybody, passing away, trying to keep anybody separate. And everything, you know, Frank, Sandy, and Frankie said, you know, like I don't hold it against them. I mean, they can hate me for. They have a right to hate me for the rest of their lives.
they don't hate
They
you?
don't. In fact, while we're on the subject, I speak with them weekly, and I told them that we were going to come here, and then hopefully.
So what is this about? Yeah, Kay Danielle said, I'm still stuck on the trash bags, y'all. Yeah, I just landed on him fumbling on that part again. Yeah, he has no idea what the scene at Servy in detail looks like, in my opinion. I don't know. And that's just another example. Yeah, CDT said, interesting Baumhover was speaking with the Ruseks weekly, And at the time of this, they told Dr. Phil they thought they were going to get Chris to roll on NK. Yeah, so it's like were the weekly conversations about an extended investigation, you know? And then Baumhover decided he had PTSD and had to retire. Like, I'm just trying to lay this timeline out. Or was that after? I don't know. Crime Curious, hi. And somebody else strolled in who I wanted to say hi to also, and now I can't remember. I think it was Punksy was one of them. Okay, I don't know. But I believe they were like Tammy fishing, and I believe he knows they're fishing. Now listen, just because he dutifully avoids the hook doesn't mean he isn't fishable. Know what I mean? Yeah, he definitely picks and chooses what topics that he lets them like lead on, you know, because he doesn't want to tell the truth per se. And hi, Anne's ASMR.
They would speak with us, and they told me to tell you, understandably, they're devastated. But they actually said that they love you. They still love you. And
the thing is, too, if they went there to roll for him to roll on NK, Baumhover reassuring him that they love him and he was their son-in-law for 8.5 years or whatever. I just feel like, and correct me if you guys think that I'm off here, but it might have been like a better tactic for him to feel like they can't believe you, they're ashamed, they just, you know, they're hoping that there's some explanation to this. Is there anything we can relay to them to kind of help them understand? Like, is there anything you haven't told us? You know what I mean? But instead, he's like told, they don't hate you. I talk to them weekly, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I don't know. I really wonder what would have happened in the conversation if he said the opposite, because you'll hear right after this, Chris is so relieved. And if he knows that there's no conflict, remember, Chris is somebody who hates confrontation. So now he can sleep peacefully in his new environment at night, knowing like, wow, they don't hate me. So everything's good as it is. I don't have to come out and say like anything to redeem myself. I know what happened and they don't hate me.
And Sandy explained it, you know, he's our son-in-law for 8 years. I can't just turn that off. So they don't hate you. They don't.
That's amazing to hear that.
Yeah, well, and I can tell you Sandy was the one that was most resistant to penalties in this case. And she told me that from the very beginning. That she didn't want that. It's God's decision. It's not her decision. And then she told me that even then. So it's not just a one-time thing that she has said it to me. It's been over the whole course of the event. So that's probably one of the most honest things someone's ever told me. You know, so it's pretty amazing. You know, faith is. She's obviously a believer. So am I. I get it. So I understand it.
That's amazing to hear that.
Yeah. Good people.
I would have figured they would have hated me for.
They don't. I mean, yeah, anybody would think that. I certainly would have, but I have to admit I was surprised, really taken back by that. But they certainly don't. So.
What did they say when they knew you were coming out here?
They said they want to know details because they need closure. And that's really all they want, and they want to keep it private. And I said, well, absolutely. We'll talk to them about what you told us, and just so they can put it past them, because they're having a hard time dealing with it and trying to get past it all. And I think that may help, just to know.
Closure is, I mean, my parents still think, like I told them I pled guilty for a reason.
Right.
Right.
And like I told it to them when they had that video.
Isn't it interesting as soon as he says, I told my parents I pled guilty for a reason, that Baumhover and Tammy both like say at the same time, right. Because if you're thinking about it from like a justice, get a conviction and get somebody bad behind bars, like of course Chris is guilty. We know he was involved in this. But if you want to get into the technicalities of like what level was somebody else there and all that, so the fact that he is saying to his own family, I pled guilty for a reason, is so open-ended because it could mean so very many things. Like he's guilty because he took part in like whatever, so it's just interesting that like the detectives have like the same view as Chris does here. Like, I'm guilty. I pled guilty for a reason. But he's not saying like really, the specifics to his own family still to this day. And Tammy and Baumhover are both like, right. But like, really, it's a lot more than just him in this, in my opinion. Patricia said, I feel like there was maybe a cut there. I for sure think that we don't have this whole audio, 100%.
Video phone thing in Colorado the day before, like I pled guilty. Like I plead guilty for a reason. Like I didn't just, I knew other people were watching. So I didn't just go in and like just say anything. Like they seemed to take it. Like, okay.
What made you do that?
It'd be interesting to write down the subject that they're talking about when we hear the cuts. So CDT said, things were definitely cut out. I remember reading that somewhere. For sure, this did have redactions. So right now, I'm just going to write a little note that when they're talking about Chris pleading guilty and the guilty plea and the, him pleading, we hear there was like a subtle something that alluded to a cut or a redaction. And we don't know what else was said, but on that topic, we'll know that it was in reference to the plea deal.
Chris, what made you plead guilty?
I didn't want anybody else to. I didn't want them to go through this for 2 or 4 years. I didn't want my attorneys to lie for me for 3 or 4 years. Like they would have done anything I told them to do.
Sure.
That's what they're.
So he basically is just saying like he didn't want this dragged out. Like he pled guilty for a reason, and one of the reasons is he didn't want anyone else to. Yeah, you heard that, Sugar Mama. Yeah, like it had something alluding to other people being there. I didn't want anyone else to, and you can argue like, oh, he meant his family and her family, anyone else to go through stuff maybe. But we don't know that for sure. And with all the other things that he's said so far that allude to we and they, us.
That's what they're. I don't see how they can do that. Whatever my reasoning was in my head that day, it wasn't sound. Nothing was right.
And you don't even remember thinking about it.
No, it was just like a reaction of something that I wasn't even thinking about.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the trash bags? Do you remember that?
Oh, you're always helping with the kids and everything. You just that's what they're. I don't see how they can do that. Like that's what attorneys do. Like they take their defendant and they say like what happened. Okay, we'll go with that story. Like I told them everything I just told you guys, and it's just like they got together. They're like, well, if they ever offered a plea deal, would you ever want to like just plead guilty to. I'm like, yeah, I mean, if we can end this, end it. Like I was like in September, I told them that.
Really?
Yeah, they like, but you know.
Tammy sounded so fake there, in my opinion. Really? As if she wasn't like checking up on when to see if he was going to accept a plea deal or offer a plea deal. But so yeah, he just didn't want to go to trial and he just wanted it ended, which is the same wording that NK's father said, like, if he pleads guilty, will everything just end?
It was way too early, and the prosecution was still doing their investigation, still grabbing evidence and all kinds of stuff, and that wasn't even really on the table. So I think it was like around Halloween. I think that's when the prosecution went to Frank and Sandy, Frankie's house, and it's talking like, if we can end this, would you be open to that? And that's when, like, you know, like the whole death penalty and everything, all that conversation happened. And I guess they were surprised that it would just be over.
Yeah.
And
we were all in shock, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, that was like...
It's like we were going 100 miles an hour, and then we just hit a brick wall. Like, that's what it felt like to all of us. So, I mean, obviously you had more time to contemplate it than us.
I told John and Kate and Sophia and everybody, Amy, hey, if we can just stop this.
Why was it that everyone just wanted this to end? Like, from all angles and all sides. He said that they were shocked when they found out that this could just be over with. How does Chris even know that? You know what I mean? So was he like put in a position to think that like he could smooth things over possibly with him by pleading guilty, and they'd be happy with that?
Like, I know it's, you know, everybody's telling me to fight this, you know, there's no like, there's like, everybody's saying there's like not enough evidence to such and this and that. And I'm just like, no, this needs to end. Like, I don't want people to have to, because for Frank and everybody to have to fly back to Colorado every single time and get reminded of this, like, I'm not sure it's never going to go away, but to actually have to come and talk about it, have other people talk about it.
Patricia, yes. Oh my gosh. She said, but if only he was guilty, why would it have been a shock to Tammy? Oh, dropping bombs.
Have, you know, all three of you go on the witness stand and say, you know, what they saw, what they've seen, you know, what they heard on tapes and everything like that. It's just like, I don't want people to relive that over and over and over again for years.
What they found on tapes? Did you hear that? Like, he's listing off things that he didn't want to have to happen. And he said his lawyers were telling him, like, no, it's okay. We don't have enough evidence. Hold on. And then he was saying, I didn't want to have them watch, you know, videos over and over again. Like, is he talking about this? Like we're doing, like, with the interviews, his polygraph and stuff? Or, like, what is he talking about? Is he talking about Lazy Dog CCTV footage? Is he talking about other CCTV footage? Hold on.
It's like, no, this needs to end. Like, I don't want people to have to, because for Frank and everybody to have to fly back to Colorado every single time and get reminded of this, like, I'm not sure it's never going to go away, but to actually have to come and talk about it, have other people talk about it, have, you know, all three of you go on the witness stand and say, you know, what they saw, what they've seen, you know, what they heard on tapes and everything like that. It's just like, I don't want people to relive that over and over.
What they heard on tapes. What they heard, what they seen, what they heard on tapes. NK's bipolar videos? Yeah, who knows? Yeah, Delaney, I feel like even hearing his like breathing there, I'd never heard it like that before. Like this enhanced audio, like cleared up audio is different listening to this again, for me at least. Maybe he wanted to spare people from NK's voice, yeah. The courtroom and the jury, for real.
Over and over again for years. Like, if I could just end this for everybody, and then like, if there was any closure at all.
If I could just end this for everybody, like we were saying in previous live streams, the plea deal was perfect for him. You know, with him sitting in prison for the rest of his life, he obviously is guilty for whatever, but if he's covering for people, he's got some sort of redemption. Because if there's other people involved, they all know that he took the fall for them and he's not throwing them in under the bus. So here, Chris is pretty much saying that, like, if I don't get other people involved or, you know. We'll hear it word for word.
It's like, no, this needs to end. Like, I don't want people to have to, because for Frank and everybody to have to fly back to Colorado every single time and get reminded of this. Like, I'm not sure it's never going to go away, but to actually have to come and talk about it, have other people talk about it, have, you know, all three of you go on the witness stand and say, you know, what they saw, what they've seen, you know, what they heard on tapes and everything like that. It's just like, I don't want people to live that over and over and over again for years. Like, if I could just end this for everybody, and then like, if there's any closure at all, they could, you know, it could start then instead of like 2022. But, you know, like, you know, everything just like, so I know it'd only get worse for everybody.
So did it have any?
It would only get worse for everybody. And this includes Shanann's family too. So he's helping everybody in this situation from all angles and on all different levels. And it's unfortunate that like we let Chris have his way, and the plea deal helped him and it helped everyone who didn't do the right thing here and who still is not doing the right thing. There would be no reason to redact parts of this interview. He's in prison. They told us he acted alone, but yet this interview is redacted.
Thing to do with you not having the death penalty?
No, like, I mean, honestly, like, when I was sitting in that cell, I felt like I should die. I mean, I was listening to everybody telling me, like, hey, if you do this and this, you can hang yourself in that cell. You could do this and that.
They were, like, telling you stuff.
Yeah, you could drown yourself in the toilet if you wanted to fill your toilet bowl up or something like that. It was, they've been there a bunch of times. And, like, you know, at one point, I was listening to them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was just like, you know, I just felt like maybe there's a different purpose for me somewhere. You know, maybe it's here. I don't know. Like, I prayed to God every day that he would move me away from Colorado. Like, move me.
See, by him saying maybe there was purpose for me somewhere else, like maybe here, that pretty much also goes along with my opinion that by him taking the plea deal, he could still not be throwing people under the bus. Like, so many people have said, why would he take the fall? Like, he's said it on so many levels here. You know, it helped Frank and them. They didn't have to fly out. They didn't have to go through this till 2022. It helps coworkers or whoever, you know what I mean, are allegedly, in my opinion, involved. It helps NK. It helps NK's dad. You know, it's just like everyone literally got their way with the plea deal. So he's looking for a purpose, and he thinks that he's done some sort of wonderful thing to these people by taking the plea deal. So he feels like he's been like redeemed.
Away from like the DOC there, because I just knew, like, they were saying there was a hit on me. They said if I was going to a DOC in Colorado, like, I'd last a week and I'd be dead. because of like the gangs and all that kind of stuff. And so like,
and he's saying that there was a hit out for him when he got to Colorado, and he like couldn't believe it. But if he did these alleged crimes and 100% it was him alone, why would he be so shocked that there was a hit out for him? Like, he just kind of like laughed about it, like he was like in shock. He's like, yeah, there was a hit out for me.
I just felt like God moved me here for a reason. Now, hopefully I can help people that way. But like, I didn't want my family, I didn't want Shanann's family, all of our friends, like, having to go through that. Because after a while, I knew it was like, this stuff was everywhere. And I knew like all her Thrive friends, everybody that was just like, it would just broke just that hole in their heart just a little bit bigger every time. I didn't want that. I knew it would have gotten worse. I didn't want it to get any worse than it already was.
I didn't want it to get any worse than it already was. It's like, why does he get to choose his own fate? And the plea deal allowed that. It's so frustrating. And now they're like, okay, we want to know the truth. They should have had this conversation before the plea deal was signed.
Did you ever think about, well, it could be very believable what I told him. It could be very believable that Shanann did, end the girls. And so maybe if I tried to convince people that, maybe if I fought with my attorneys on that, maybe I could lessen it somehow. Did you ever think about that?
Honestly, I never even thought about the story until you guys mentioned it.
So, oh my gosh. And I'm like only laughing because it's like one of those laughs you do when you're just like ready to pull your hair out and you're going mad and crazy. Coder pretty much was saying like, after you blamed Shanann for the children's deaths, did you ever think like, okay, that's the route, that our defense team is going to go in court and that'll be believable for everyone? And he just said, like, so matter of fact. And we know it to be true because we seen it on the video ourselves that it was fed to him from Tammy. And he says, I honestly never would have thought of it until you guys told me that. So no, it's like they came up with that problem themselves, just like this whole interview is just an extension to that false confession about Shanann killing the kids. Now we have this false confession.
Yeah.
I wondered.
I never even thought about it until you guys mentioned it.
So what did you think about it once it got mentioned?
It's just like I just went with it. I didn't I knew my dad was out there. I knew it was like, I knew they would probably believe it because, my mom and my sister just never really liked Shanann. I knew through all this, like I got letters from some of my friends that even said, when we went to your house, we could see, Shanann was more of a dominant personality and more of like,
I feel like in any other case, not this case, not a case involving children, when law enforcement uses this technique called the read technique, it might have been something that would work in their favor for the case. Because it would have gone to trial probably, or they would have got a plea deal that actually had a somewhat of a coherent confession. But for this case and the fact that there was just this perfect storm, like he said, I knew my parents would believe it. They didn't like Shanann. This is just its own unique perfect storm because not every, yes, every family has its faults, but not every family was like the Watts and Shanann's relationship and the drama going on behind the scenes. So this definitely backfired on Tammy, and it's just a stain in this case. Hello, Seeking the Truth with Dave. Yeah, it's just not, they don't teach the technique for a reason anymore to agents. It's very outdated because of these so many issues. And here's just a perfect example of why you don't use that technique.
You're always helping with the kids and everything. You just, you're a great dad and everything. We could see, couple things that I never saw or, whatnot. And even my best friend Mark can say, there's always, something, I didn't really get with Shanann. I was like, nobody ever told me any of this stuff, but okay. But yeah, I never thought about that story. And, that's what my attorneys were going with. Yeah. And then, I think it was probably the second week I told them, what had really happened.
What did they say after that?
They were quiet. They were writing it down. They said they wouldn't judge me. So I told them everything that happened. And they, appreciated, I guess, most of the time, their defendant or their, defendants don't, tell them actually what happened.
No. Yeah.
They just, tell them, all right, get me out of here. This is what happened. But I told them what happened. I didn't want them going, if this was going to go, anywhere in courts, I didn't want them to be under a false pretense and, get surprised.
And it's noteworthy that when he's saying, I told my lawyers everything that happened, I didn't want them to have a false pretense in court. That's not to say what he's telling the agents right now is what he told his lawyers. So in case everyone's listening to this and they're like, okay, wow, so this is what he told the lawyers then. No, that's not what's being said, and keep that as an open mind. We don't know what Chris told his lawyers. He said, I told them what happened. And it's not what Tammy and Coder and them are telling him what happened in this interview, in my opinion.
So I know there was probably things that you guys probably knew that maybe if I lied to them and just told them, no, this is what happened, that it would have made them look, foolish and stupid and just unprepared. And I'm just this is what happened. And they, they appreciated me telling them that. So now they would be prepared. And that's when they were saying if it was ever, if we ever went to them, the prosecution, and say, if we could end this, would I be open to it? I'm if it could end, send it.
I know there was wasn't her phone found on the couch or in between the couch cushions? Did you plant all that stuff?
It definitely sounded like that was cut. He said, if it could end, send it. And then all of a sudden, Tammy got really loud. And I don't know, did you guys feel like that was another cut part, which is still in relation to the guilty plea? That was a weird transition there.
You just threw it in there? Why did you do that?
I don't know what was going on that morning. Even her watch, her phone, if I was actually, if I'd planned this, I would probably just take it out to the field or something, But,
what about her ring and stuff? What were you thinking about that?
It's maybe she actually really wanted the divorce. Maybe she didn't want to fix it. Just put it there on the counter.
She took it off? Or did you take it off?
I took it off.
Okay. Oh.
Creepy. So she said, I don't know. He just said that he took it off Shanann. So I was just picturing the scene or whatever, but I don't know. I don't even know if I believed him when he just said, I took it off. Hold on.
If it was ever, if we ever went to them, the prosecution, and say, if we could end this, would I be open to it? I'm if it could end, send it.
I know there was wasn't her phone found on the couch or in between the couch cushions? Did you plant all that stuff?
I just threw it in there.
You just threw it in there? Why did you do that?
I don't know what was going on that morning. Even her watch, her phone, if I was actually, if I'd planned this, I would probably just take it out to the field or something, But,
what about her ring and stuff? What were you thinking about that?
It's maybe she actually really wanted the divorce. Maybe she didn't want to fix it. Just put it there on the counter.
She took it off? Or did you take it off?
I took it off.
Okay. Oh, so that would look like she was saying, I want a divorce, I'm leaving it here when I'm taken off. I see.
So the phone and her watch and the couch, was that morning before you left to go to service? Okay.
That's, I think, Nicole's son found it or something.
Yeah.
What other things did you do that maybe we even missed?
Tried the phone and the watch. Yeah. I think I threw the therapy book she wanted me to read in the trash. I don't know.
That was that morning?
I think so.
Were you trying to make it look like she threw it in the trash?
I don't know. I just I just didn't think nothing was ever going to work again. So it was.
He seemed to be fumbling about throwing the book in the trash. I feel like that was done by NK, but again, I have no proof to back that up, just my opinion. Yeah, Kay Danielle, he has no idea, listen.
I didn't know what was going on.
Did you go down?
He's exactly telling us. I didn't know what was going on. So when you say he has no idea, listen, he's literally saying it. I think CDT quoted that too. I don't know what was going on that morning. He says it over and over. The same thing in the polygraph interview, which Dave has been looking through again. He'll say over and over, if anything, she was taken out the back. If anyone had taken her, it was out the back.
To the basement? I thought the basement door open.
Yeah, the door is open, but yeah. So there was a lot of movement, you know, I think it was around 4:26 or something. And the garage door.
So we had done further investigation, and here Bonhoeffer calls it 4:26 a.m. vivid alert. It actually was 5:26. So it's misquoted here in the prison interview.
Opening the basement door opening, and then of course the living room sensors and all. Do you remember what you were doing all during that time?
You had a lot of steps. I'll just say that.
Okay. So like the basement, I'm not sure. I mean, the only thing I really have down there is my work.
And, you know, him having a lot of steps on his tracking from his phone, I've always wondered if it had to do with walking from service site to service site. But again, that's just my opinion. We just have a lot of steps, it appears, unaccounted for, maybe in the time frame or the story that the narrative they're pushing.
Yeah, the bench press was.
Do you remember going down there for anything or opening that door for anything? Did you think about, well, maybe I'll take her out that way, or is it a walkout basement?
No,
it wasn't at your house. Okay,
no, it's like a garden level basement. So
okay.
But no, I don't remember really. I don't think it worked out that morning.
Like, were you packing your lunch in the kitchen? Like, did you have to do all that normal stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely packed lunch and everything. Did all that.
Did you notice how Tammy just steered the conversation from the basement to the kitchen? Like, things were getting kind of like hazy about the basement talk, you know, because he doesn't know what to say. And she's not like, so now she's like guided him back up to the kitchen. Were you like making your lunch? And like, we already know that. He's said that actually. I think we covered it in part 3. So now he's hazy on the activity that was going on with the basement Vivint door and it being left open and, you know, all that because he didn't know. He was outside probably. Hi, Seth. He said, hey, Amber, just stopping by to say hello. Hello. So here, you know, the basement conversation's getting a little bit like hazy and Tammy's not liking the direction it's going. So she's steering him back up to making his lunch in the kitchen, which he's comfortable talking about because that for sure, I believe, actually did happen, in my opinion. And it's something that he's said from like the get-go.
I don't remember about the basement. Unless I just worked out that morning, I just don't remember. I don't think I did.
So one of the more...
Unless there was a trash bag down there, that time.
Yeah, you got trash bags from there?
Maybe there wasn't any in the garage, and I went down there and got one.
Do you normally carry a roll of trash bags in your truck?
No.
So there was a roll in your truck?
I was?
Yeah.
Maybe I just grabbed it and brought it with me then.
That would have been kept in the basement, maybe? Or
The basement or the garage.
Or the garage.
It's almost seeming like somebody else was in his truck at one point that brought and left trash bags there or something. Like, it just seems like a lot of confusion there about trash bags.
I'm sorry, what were you saying, Graham?
One of the more kind of poignant or tender moments in all of this was seeing you with your dad when he came in. What was it like when you picked him up at the airport?
It was very strange. It was kind of like I almost knew this was probably the last time I'd ever see him on the outside. In my head, I knew that.
Yeah. What'd you guys talk about?
Honestly, like, he just wanted to talk about sports. He just like, he's always kind of like, distance himself from like a problem type thing. Like, when, like, if there was ever an issue or anything like that, he always want to talk about, like, just bring up, like, when I would try to get him to quit smoking, like, all the time, like, just after, like, I graduated high school and whatnot, he would...
Are you talking about cigarettes?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he would always, like, just change stuff. Like, oh, you know what happened in the race? Football or something. I mean, he just never wanted, like, he said, okay, yeah, I'll get to it. And he just, boom, something else. And, I just kind of felt like it was kind of like that, like, he asked, like, a few questions, like, do you know where they're at? And do you think, you know where they're at or anything like that? And I just, told him no. And then, like, just want to talk about sports and just, like, normal things. Just kind of, I'm not sure if he maybe knew anything, maybe he kind of figured out something maybe happened and just wanted to talk to me as his son.
Is it possible he saw that you were in a stressful situation and wanted to do what he always did? Make things comfortable?
I think that was a good way to put it.
I bet you picked up a lot of that from him.
Yeah, because in stressful situations, like, the gray hair didn't show it, but, like, I try not to be in stress. But, it's, like, I worked on cars, there's a lot of stress. Because it's always, it's on commission. You get paid what you do, not by showing up. So, then Darko was a little less stressful. I got paid just to be there. But,
was your dad's marriage like yours and Shanann's marriage, as far as, like, your dad was the more passive one and your mom was the more
my mom
dominant?
was always the more aggressive one.
Was she like Shanann in a way? I mean, were you attracted to Shanann because she was kind of like...
I don't know how this is relevant. Maybe to get in the psychology of it, his mind and upbringing, maybe. But I don't know. I'm just wondering while I'm paused at if you guys think the conversation they had about certain things that were redacted might be about the ping or the 2017 searches. Because they knew about that before this conversation. And I don't think we ever discuss it in this stuff. So do you guys think that maybe they redacted their conversation about those subjects?
How your mom and dad's relationship was, or?
It was like, it almost mirrored, like, her mom and dad's relationship, honestly, because her dad's like my dad. Because they're both, like, kind of calm and cool. Just like
I could see that, yeah.
And her mom is very...
Sandy rules that roost.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Very. And it's just like, I kind of related it to that. Because, like, her mom always said, like, she always told Shanann that she would marry somebody that was kind of like her dad. And I felt like I was kind of like her dad. I mean, I wasn't like, I couldn't build a lot of things he could, but, our personalities were kind of like, I was always, I think he really liked me the first time he met me because, like, I was helping Shanann with this, she had got this car from the dealership that she worked at, and she was driving around and felt like, the wheels were going to fall off. And I pulled over where her dad was, and I got her jacked it up, and I was like, trying to fix everything. He said, like, any other guy she'd ever dated would have just like stood by and watched me do it. And so I think that's when he really like kind of like me.
Took to you.
Yeah, just like I was always wanting to help people, not to hurt anybody.
Well, and you helped her all through her lupus, and you're at the colonoscopy, and you're jacking up the car. And
I mean, anytime she had an issue with like Carter at the Dirty South Customs, and like I would just go out to work and see what I could do with it. I would just do whatever
I feel like that was just so unnecessary for Coder to like list off and remind us that he went to her colonoscopy. I don't know. It was just like, and then like even Chris brought it back to like, yeah, and with the cars. It's like everyone talks about how much Chris bashes Shanann here, and he does for sure. But like I know that they're saying, oh, it's just a tactic. What, to keep lying? Because your tactic doesn't work for the truth. They've been using this tactic with him the entire time. And we know that we got a false confession. So why are we keeping this up? Throwing Shanann under the bus? Just like degrading her? She's passed away here. And he's talking about like, and you were at, her colonoscopy. It's just so weird to me.
Good to help.
Yeah. Well, and I think one of the reasons Frank and Sandy work so well is because Frank let Sandy be Sandy.
Yeah.
And they probably both saw in you that you let Shanann be Shanann.
Yeah, I just like, I didn't try to change her. Right. Like I just let her be, who she is.
Yeah.
She's like, she's gung ho. She's, she knows what she wants. She's gonna go get it.
Yeah.
And I didn't say, hey, you can't do that. And that's what her first husband did.
Yeah.
He controlled everything. He tried to be Sandy, and it didn't work. And she turned into almost like me. She was like, she just kind of like played back and just kind of like let him do what he was doing. And then I think she learned after that she could just be herself. With me, she could definitely be herself.
Yeah.
So that's how it worked.
So do you think your dad had any inkling? Because I'm trying to remember the timing. He showed up when you were still walking around. You weren't in any trouble yet when Ronnie came in.
Yeah, I had met with dude the night before for like 3 or 4 hours.
And I have no problem laughing at the fact that I can't pronounce colonoscopy. Sorry. Haven't had one yet. Sorry, Jill.
One thing, so she always told me that was her dream job. So.
Oh, really? Yeah. What did she mean?
Like in the oil company in the dark, I was like, unless you're working, would have just like stood by and watched me do it. And so I think that's when he really like kind of like me.
Took to you.
Yeah, just like I was always wanting to help people, not to hurt anybody.
Well, and you helped her all through her lupus, and you're at the colonoscopy, and you're jacking up the car. And
I mean, anytime she had an issue with like Carter at the Dirty South Customs, and like I would just go out to work and see what I could do with it. I would just do whatever I could to help.
Yeah. Well, and I think one of the reasons Frank and Sandy work so well is because Frank let Sandy be Sandy.
Yeah.
And they probably both saw in you that you let Shanann be Shanann.
Yeah, I just like I didn't try to change her.
Right.
Like I just let her be who she is.
Yeah.
She's like she's gung ho. She's she knows what she wants. She's gonna go get it.
Yeah.
And I didn't say, hey, you can't do that. And that's what her first husband did.
Yeah.
He controlled everything. He tried to be Sandy, and it didn't work. And she turned into almost like me. She was like, she just kind of like played back and just kind of like let him do what he was doing. And then I think she learned after that she could just be herself. With me, she could definitely be herself.
Yeah.
So that's how it worked.
So do you think your dad had any inkling? Because I'm trying to remember the timing. He showed up when you were still walking around. You weren't in any trouble yet when Ronnie came in.
Yeah, I had met with dude the night before for like 3 or 4 hours. And then I was at Nick and Amanda's house.
Okay.
We met there, and that's when I went to go pick him up.
Okay. And when you picked him up, it was early that morning, right?
He was like 10:30, I think, when his flight came in.
Okay. And then so from there, you guys probably drove home and then to the police station.
Yep.
And the talks there were no type of confession from you. Okay.
No, it was like he was just gonna wait.
Okay.
I told him, like, if you're hungry, there's like that barbecue joint down the street, and like, it's good. And just, he told me he never left.
He didn't. I wasn't lying.
Yeah.
He was faithful. He was.
I mean, I don't know how he lasted that long without food.
We ended up giving him food.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
He was great. And the reason I ask is because when I look back and watch the video, now knowing what I know after talking to you today, I can see how genuine he was. But I just didn't know if you guys had come up with some sort of plan. Okay.
No, we never talked about anything like that. If I had told him anything, he would have probably just told me, just tell him right away.
I think you're right.
Now, he would have still loved me either way, but he would have told me, you need to tell him, like, right now.
Yeah.
I didn't think I was going to be there for 14 or however long it was, like 10 hours, however long it was that day.
You were there a long time.
Yeah, but it was, he would have told me just to say, just to tell you.
Yeah.
Did you know walking in there that you were going to tell us? Or did you think...
I didn't, I knew there was a reason you brought me back in. I know, well, for the,
What'd you think about the polygraph?
that was horrible.
Why do you say
I
that?
don't know how you do that.
Why do you say that?
Because Tammy's a torturer.
I'm not!
Isn't it sort of interesting that Coder says it right there? Tammy's a torturer.
No, like,
Tell me.
You answered, you asked me questions for like 3 or 4 hours beforehand, and then you do the polygraph, and it's like you just break down somebody's brain to where, like,
Too much or what?
Too much. Jello.
But I thought they're supposed to be like in a decent state of mind to be hooked up to that. Like, you're not even supposed to really be on little sleep to take a polygraph, from my understanding. I could be wrong. And yeah, Kristen said, here comes Tammy fangirling over herself. Oh my gosh, I think it's hilarious, Dave, that you have her email.
And it's just like, I know it's you guys have a job and you have a plan, and that's you executed it.
She's thorough, right? There's just no way to get out of there without the truth.
No, I mean, I kind of knew, like.
And it's like so annoying because the way that Tammy is laughing, she's so proud of herself and just like happy and like, yeah, they got the conviction. They got some dirtbag who, conspired against remember, he was arrested only on suspicion of murder. That was his arrest after the polygraph. It was a false confession. So Tammy's all like laughing and all that because like it worked out for her. They got a false confession and didn't have to go to trial. So everything was like okie dokie, like for her. So that's why she's like over here laughing.
Because right when you asked me about like Saturday night, I told you about her walking in, I was like, man, she's like going through her head.
Well, we did know, we found out about Nikki right before the polygraph.
I figured that out after with meeting with John and everybody that she had met with somebody from the CBI, like on the 14th or the 15th. I was just like, wait, they were talking. Oh, okay. So you already knew. But
I didn't know how extensive it was, but yes, we knew.
Yeah, I walking in there that day, just.
She said right there, we didn't know how extensive it was, but yeah, we knew. But then they got a false confession. So still, we don't know how extensive it was because you still never gave he never gave you the truth. She just said it herself. We didn't know how extensive it was. And we still don't know.
Like,
what do you mean?
Like she would ask, like, like what's my dog's name, or like what do I like which I don't think you can ever defeat a text message.
One of the more kind of poignant, it was early that morning, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was just like that. 13th when I slept in the house, it did.
It was early that morning, right?
It was like 10:30, I think, when his flight came in. Would have just like stood by and watched me do it. And so like that's when he really like kind of like me.
Took to you.
Yeah, just like I was always wanting to help people, not to hurt anybody.
Hi, Catwoman. Thank you for stopping in.
Well, and you helped her all through her lupus, and you're at the colonoscopy, and you're jacking up the car.
Back a
And,
little bit.
I mean, anytime she had an issue with like car.
While it gets caught up, because it's just so difficult on StreamYard to get the exact time. But Tammy is paying for it now with all of us still researching. Exactly. Just do it right the first time. Get to the truth and not to a confession, because you got a false confession. And now look at us.
Yeah. She's like, she's gung-ho. She's,
like now we're in this predicament.
It was early that morning, right?
It was like 10:30, I think, when his flight came in.
Okay. And then so from there, you guys probably drove home and then to the police station.
Yep.
And the talks there were no type of confession from you. Okay.
No, it was like, he was just going to wait.
Okay.
I told him, like, if you're hungry, there's like that barbecue joint down the street. Yeah. And like, it's good. And just, he told me he never left.
He didn't. I wasn't lying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He was faithful. He was.
Yeah, I don't know how he lasted that long without food.
We ended up giving him food.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He was great. And the reason I ask is because when I look back and watch that video, now knowing what I know after talking to you today, I can see how genuine he was. But I just didn't know if you guys had come up with some sort of plan. Okay.
No, we never talked about it.
Okay.
If I had told him anything, he would have probably just told me, just tell him right away.
I think you're right.
Now, he would have still loved me either way, but he would have told me, you need to tell him, like, right now.
Yeah.
I didn't think I was going to be there for 14 or however long it was, like 10 hours, I don't know, that day.
You were there a long time.
Yeah, but it was, he would have told me just to say, just to tell you. Yeah.
Did you know walking in there that you were going to tell us? Or did you think...
I knew there was a reason you brought me back in. I know, well, for the...
What'd you think about the polygraph?
That was horrible.
Why do you say that?
I don't know how you do that.
Why do you say that?
Because Tammy's a torturer.
I'm not.
No,
Tell me.
You answered, you asked me questions for like 3 or 4 hours beforehand, and then you do the polygraph, and it's like you just break down somebody's brain to where like
too much or what?
Too much. Jello, and it's just like I know it's you guys have a job and you have a plan, and that's you executed it.
She's thorough, right? There's just no way to get out of there without the truth.
No, I kind of knew because right when you asked me about like Saturday night, when I told you about her walking in, I was like, man, she was like going through her head.
Well, we did know, we found out about Nikki right before the polygraph.
I figured that out after with meeting with John and everybody that she had met with somebody from the CBI, like on the 14th or the 15th. I was just like, wait, they were talking. Oh, okay. So you already knew.
So we didn't know how extensive it was, but yes, we knew.
Yeah, walking in there that day, just walking into that room, I knew I wasn't walking out.
Yeah.
Just the feeling I had walking in that room.
Yeah.
Just seeing, I don't remember if the polygraph stuff was already in there. I think it was.
It was, yeah.
But it was, I knew it.
I just feel like sometimes when people, do the bad thing and they stay, like, some part of me thinks, well, I think they're here because they really want to tell us what happened. Because it's not normal that you want to keep all that in. Like, that just kills people on the inside. And I could tell it was killing you that day.
Yeah, it was just like that. 13th when I slept in the house, it did nothing. I don't think I slept maybe like 2 hours because I just finally got so tired I just fell asleep. I had every light on. Nothing felt right.
What were you thinking about during your media interviews?
I didn't want to do it.
That seemed like another, in my opinion, cut or edited area. Went from talking about the polygraph, and first off, she sounded so fake when she was like, I could just tell that, like, you needed to say something and you had to get something off your chest, and it's not good for people to, but like, that just sounded so rehearsed and fake. And then all of a sudden it jumped to him saying that he was at the house Monday night and couldn't sleep. Excuse me. So Deco, Painter, and T agrees that that did sound like a little bit of a cut. Kay Danielle did too. And again, if anyone's watching this on replay and you rewind, let me know down in the comments below too if you feel like that was a cut topic. So it was right after talking about a little bit of the poly. Then all of a sudden it cut to Chris talking about this. And it's just possible. We're not saying this is definite redacted part, but.
Why did you do it? Did you feel like you had to do it?
I felt like, they would have just kept knocking on my door until I answered it. And like, I didn't even set it up, but Nicole Atkinson set it up. She told me, hey, Fox.
Is she the one that set it up?
She said Fox is going to be at your house at 10:30. I'm like, what? Like, okay. And I think I even called you about it. Like, what do you recommend that I do? And he's like, it's kind of up to you. I'm like, okay. And I called one of her friends. What should I do? And she said I probably wouldn't do it, but I just felt like I don't even want to know what I said, what I looked like on there, because I knew it. Some people said it just made it look even worse after the fact, but
it didn't look good. I mean, obviously we can't say, oh, we knew right then he was lying, but I think we all watched it together and went, this might be bad.
Yeah,
I had that feeling after I watched it. So I could kind of see it in your face.
It's like I was just lying to more and more people, and it's just like
Do you have internet access here?
No.
Say don't get into that trap that everybody's in.
What trap?
The social media trap and all that.
No, they don't let you have social media here. Like, I think some of the GP guys are getting like these little like tablets or something that are like the size of like a older iPhone or something. But I think they can use like email. But I'm not sure about like social media. Definitely no social media. But like, I'm not sure about internet or not. But this place is kind of like a dead zone pie for phones, anyways. I would think.
I don't know. We're getting service, which is weird.
Yeah.
I didn't think we would.
Right here.
Yeah, right in this room.
Maybe this is kind of like a hub of computers.
Yeah, that's
this
true.
is the spot.
Yeah, computer room. You would hope they'd have some.
Did you talk to Nikki afterwards? After all this happened?
On the 13th and the 14th.
What was that conversation like?
It was the 13th. It's kind of like it was more text. And then maybe a phone call, and then she thought maybe Shanann like took off with the kids, like just because I was telling her I didn't know where they were and all that. And then the 14th, she kind of thought something may have happened because they had to come back.
Why do you say that she might have thought that?
She kept asking me like some weird questions. Like she kept asking like questions that only I would know, but she was testing to see if like it was actually me on the phone. Like,
why was NK worried that somebody else was talking to her through Chris's phone, pretending to be Chris? Can anybody in chat explain to me why NK was paranoid, thinking that it wasn't Chris that she was talking to and she had to ask him security questions to, be sure? Sarah said worried about the cops on the phone. But if you have nothing to hide, yeah, American Gal said because she was afraid to get caught in massive web of lies. she felt she was being set up. Well, then that puts a whole new spin on that new Perez Hilton article that was just going around because of NK's released interview. Remember in her released interview, and she's talking about her text with him, and she said she's reading back and forth the text between her and Chris, and she said that Chris texted her saying, "I did not hurt my family." So if Chris was saying, "I did not hurt my family," and she's got to make sure that it's Chris and not that anyone else. I don't know. Very interesting.
What do you mean?
Like she would ask, like, you know, like what's my dog's name, or like what do I like, what yoga studio do I go to, or something like that. And just like I just answer like I'm, and then like another thing about I'm not sure if this is you. I'm just like, okay.
Is this through text or is this through calls?
Text.
Oh, okay. So she wasn't hearing your voice. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it possible she thought you'd been arrested and we were on the phone?
Either Shanann had my phone or somebody else had my phone, or like maybe, you know, maybe she thought it was.
Well, hopefully Shanann would know all the answers to those questions, right?
No. This is Nikki asking me.
Yeah, but if she's asking you your name of your dog and what yoga studio, and like, wouldn't
well,
she know that?
maybe she thought, you know, maybe I was with Shanann, that she was just trying to find out who she was.
Mm.
Yeah, like some of the conversation, like on the 14th, got a little weird. I think that's when she met with CBI or something, or FBI. I'm not sure who she met with first.
So she talked to you after she met with?
No.
Oh, she
that was like she had told me like, this is the last time you'll probably hear from me. I'm going to stay at my friend Jim's place. All this is all going on. She said not to contact her until this is.
And isn't it interesting that they do that whole article on Perez Hilton this last week about last text messages between Chris Watts and NK the mistress, and it was from NK's interview, and NK's interview was saying how he said, "I didn't hurt my family," and now Chris is over here saying that that wasn't their conversation, and that their last conversation was NK saying to him, "This is the last time we'll be talking. I'm going to go stay with my friend Jim." So why their last conversations aren't really adding up?
This is done. Still made
Text Tuesday is not adding up.
delete everything. I didn't delete everything. I just okay. I'm not sure why I didn't delete everything, but probably helped you guys out a little bit. But
and I believe like Chris didn't delete everything because he said it here. He didn't know he was being recorded. He said, I don't know why I didn't delete everything, probably to help you guys out, but. And then in the NK interview, we see Kobach say that he had 153 pages of text or something like that. So there are texts that we've just never seen, you know, and why?
Told you to delete everything?
delete all conversations.
Did she tell you why?
She just said delete it. Which I don't think.
And isn't it interesting? He just said that NK said delete all conversations. And that would almost insinuate that they've had multiple conversations on multiple, you know, either devices or apps, you know, delete all conversations. And that goes right along with everything that we've already suspected, that they were apps that they were using that had conversations on them.
You can never delete a text message.
We're pretty good at getting deleted text messages.
Did when your dad came in, one of the first things you guys talked about, he said, you know, kind of quietly, I cheated on her, I cheated on Shan or something. Your dad didn't know until that time?
No, they had, when I was in North Carolina on August 6th, when I spent most of the day with my parents and my sister and everybody, you know, they had, I had told them like something like, you know, this, I don't think this is going to work, like, with what happened with the nuts and everything, and they're not being able to see the kids, they're like, you know, this is the first.
And why did we just go from text message, phone data, which is good evidence and something that should be kind of discussed and dwelled on, to talking about family drama now?
Somebody had talked to me, and pretty much.
Oh, because you went 3 weeks or something, right?
Yeah, because Shannon told me to call him while I was at the beach just to smooth everything out, because she was like, all right, whatever's going on in your head, you need to fix this. But she didn't want the kids to see him. She didn't want to see him. And then, like, when I did see him when I was sick, it was after I went and saw my grandmother. She's in a nursing home. And she still wouldn't go see my parents or anybody, even the kids. So I just told her to leave me there. My dad come pick me up, and spent the whole day there. And they said they want to see the kids. They just don't know if they could ever just forgive Shan for everything that happened that day. I guess, I'm not sure everything that was said that day when they had that argument, but apparently it was like a knockdown, drag out, bomb that went off.
Pretty hurtful things.
Yeah, I'm guessing so. And they just don't know if they could ever forgive her or not. And I just I never told them about cheating on her. They even asked me, is there somebody else?
Oh, did they really?
Yeah.
So they could kind of sense maybe something's going on.
Yeah, because Nikki was texting me the entire time I was over there.
Oh.
They could kind of see I was texting somebody, but it was maybe they kind of knew. Even when I was in San Diego talking to my friend Mark, I told him about Nikki, but I didn't tell him I was going to meet up with her.
Okay.
I told him that I was trying to I should have just told him right then. Maybe that would have helped me. I know maybe he had an instance where there was some girl coming after him, and she was engaged, and he ended up getting with her, and then they were together, and then.
Isn't this interesting how he's comparing this story, and he's saying he had some girl coming after him, so NK was coming after you? Just sounds very aggressive how he just compared that. Oh gosh.
I never told them about cheating on her. They even asked me, is there somebody else?
Oh, did they really?
Yeah.
So they could kind of sense maybe something's going on.
Yeah, because Nikki was texting me the entire time I was over there.
Oh.
They could kind of see I was texting somebody, but it was maybe they kind of knew. Even when I was in San Diego talking to my friend Mark, I told him about Nikki, but I didn't tell him I was going to meet up with her.
Okay.
Well, I feel right there, Chris realized, because I'm almost certain, and those in chat who know this, let me know. I'm almost certain that Mark doesn't mention NK. Or that he knew. And now Chris here is saying, because I told Mark about NK, and then he catches himself. He's like, but I didn't tell him I was going to meet up with her. And then Coder's like, okay. So I think Coder caught it right there too.
I told him that I was trying to I should have just told him right then. Maybe that would have helped me. I know maybe he had an instance where there was some girl coming after him, and she was engaged, and he ended up getting with her, and then they were together, and then she cheated on him.
Is this before he was married or during?
It was after.
Okay.
He could have helped me, but I just I never told him the whole thing. That it was a lot further along than I wanted it to be.
That's interesting to think about, right? His dad could have given him some good advice.
Yeah, everybody. Oh, this is my friend Mark.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
When I was in San Diego.
Oh, I gotcha.
So you think you told Mark about that, hoping that he maybe questioned you about it, or?
Well, I was because Mark, my best friend. I grew up with him since I was 8, 9 years old.
Yeah.
So he had been married before, and it didn't work out. I guess they were stationed together or something over in Korea, and I should have just came out with the whole story. I just told him there was this girl at work that I've been talking to, but I'm just distancing myself from her. Yeah. But that wasn't the case. I was just letting it exponentially get worse.
Right.
If I told him, like, hey,
Yeah.
he would have been like, whoa, man, like, all right, take a step back and look. And, like, don't, like, fall into that trap, being you're going to be alone for 5 weeks. And there's times I wish, like, maybe Shanann didn't have to go away for 5 weeks. Maybe we all just went for 1 week. Yeah. Nothing was ever happened. It's only, 5.
So if Chris is saying after Shanann, maybe if Shanann didn't leave for 5 weeks and we all just went for 1, maybe none of this would have happened. Of course, that's just idiotic to think, and it's kind of blaming Shanann in a way, but it's just also interesting looking at it like hindsight is 2020. He's spent so much time at NK's apartment and we never once saw it. Like, we don't have any pictures, we don't have anything about her apartment or anything. They didn't go to it, nothing in the reports of them showing up there to talk to her. She needed to be picked up, but not at like the front door. She met them like in the parking area when they picked her up at her apartment.
5 weeks alone, that's the only reason really that was almost even allowed to happen.
There are quite a few people who would tell us, and who do tell us, you need to look into Nikki more, Nikki Kissinger. All the way from the extreme end of things being, Nikki's the one who ordered the hit.
She was there. I'm in the basement.
She was there. So the extreme is, she's the one who told Chris to do it. She's the real problem. All the way, that's the extreme side. And then all the way to, well, there were these texts where she was infatuated, she was in love, she was saying how good Chris was in the sack, and maybe we should look at her more. What would you say to those people?
She had her moments where I had to talk her like.
And isn't it sort of interesting as part of their little tactic? Coder found it necessary to bring up like them bragging or her bragging about his skills in the bedroom. Because like if he's going to throw her under the bus, the same thing is like we were saying earlier, like about the family. When they said they don't hate you. If they want him to feel a certain way, they're going to lead the conversation in a certain direction. Why, if we're trying to get information, you just said there's so many people, they say things that NK ordered the hit. If people are saying that, then why would you just amp up his ego and everything and like soften whatever feelings he has about her if you're going to lead it to her saying like that he was good in the sack? Then it's just interesting, like, why would they take that direction? And then even better, hi Ruby, even better is right after this, Chris says he had to talk her off a ledge. So he really doesn't go like easy on her, but it seems like maybe they wanted him to. That's why they ended that whole spiel with, saying how good you were in the sack. And then he pretty much like does throw her under the bus, but it's not enough for some reason, unless they redacted it. And it's still, nothing has changed, so.
Off a ledge kind of deal.
What does that mean?
It's like, I guess after the fact, there was like videos of her that she was like recording herself because she was like bipolar or something. I never knew that. But it's like, and she would get worked up about nothing. She would just like, she came to my house once, because I think it was like July 4th, I didn't have to work that day. So I didn't like get up at like, 4 o'clock and go home. Mm-hmm. And Shanann called me like 10 times in a row. And I didn't hear it because I was asleep. And I was just like, and she was pissed. Shanann was pissed. And like I called her on outside, like, where are you at? Like, what? I was like, I didn't have to work today. It's like, you called me at like, 5:30. It's like, well, kids want to talk to you at 7:30. I'm like I'm asleep. And she's like, she just like, screw you. Like, like I don't know where you're at. And I went back inside. Told me like, I gotta go. And she was just like, okay, are you coming back?
So Shanann was flipping out. And he leaves. He made that choice there on that day, in my opinion, that it, and then I think NK couldn't deal with that. And that was probably the day he had to talk her off a ledge.
Probably not.
So wait a minute, you kind of lost me there. Were you at Nikki's place when Shanann called you?
Yeah.
Okay, and so you were sleeping in her bed.
Yeah, because I wasn't going to work that day because I didn't have to that day.
Okay.
The first holiday I ever had off, and Shanann was pissed, and kind of pissed Nikki off too that I left. But I think that's when I called Nikki later, and she was like, she kind of realized that she'd always be like the second. She said second fiddle.
That's right.
And because that's how I probably would come back that day. Just, I don't want to be anywhere else when Shanann calls. She was already pissed. So it was stuff like that where she would she would go. She said she would go on websites and look at will a relationship work with somebody? Will a mistress work? Will a mistress turn into a relationship?
That's what Nikki was looking at?
Yeah.
She would tell you that, or you
told me that.
Okay.
Yeah, she said that she would go on websites and look at stuff like that. I was like, why do you even look at stuff like that? She's like, I just want to see what other people have experienced.
But so that confuses me though, because I thought earlier you were saying she thought you were heading toward a divorce. So why was she looking at herself as a mistress?
This was later on.
Oh.
In August, the first week of August, when I told her, I had that talk with her about separation. That's when she started looking at apartments and stuff. But during our July relationship type thing there.
Oh, I see.
That's when she was looking up if it will actually work.
Okay.
She told her friend Brittany about it, I guess, and Brittany told her not to do it, but she said she'd already made her decision.
Okay.
So here he name drops one of NK's friends, Brittany, and just because we've just gone through NK's interview recently, we know that NK insisted to CBI that no one knew about her affair with Chris, only her dad, none of her friends knew. And then here we have Chris saying she talked to her friend Brittany about it, and her friend Brittany said, don't do it. And then NK said, I've made up my mind. So apparently Brittany knew about them and advised NK it wouldn't be a good idea. So why doesn't... Yeah, exactly, Delaney. Brittany, Danielle, Charlotte, where are you? Yeah, and who are you? And why is NK protecting the fact that her friends knew about Chris? Chris has no problem name dropping Jim and Brittany. Yes, Charlotte knew too. Yeah, she is a liar, and that alone means she should be investigated. Okay, Nikki, thank you so much for being here. And yeah, CDT, you have the link whenever you want to come up if you have time. Yeah, Fragnando said, and Jim, who took the pics, allegedly, yes. Val said because they'll tell on her. Very possible. I mean, you can't tell me it's not possible.
And so, are those people absolutely wrong about Nikki? She wasn't asking you to get rid of your family?
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. And no part of any of this was because...
Welcome.
Hello. Can you hear me okay? Because I'm on headphones.
I can hear you. It's a little bit softer than normal.
Okay, let me do it without. Is this better?
Oh, yeah, that's much better. Chat, let me know what you guys think. But yeah, so thank you for hopping on so late into the evening.
No problem. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm just going to go a little bit longer. Anything you want to discuss thus far?
Basically, I think it's interesting how he brings up Brittany. NK never brought up Brittany. I think it's frustrating how you kind of mentioned, their family annihilator is staying at NK's apartment for the whole 5 weeks. He said he basically spent every night in July there, but they don't find that out until February. They should have found that out in August, in my opinion. I think it's just interesting to see, chat kind of noticing when it might have been cut, because I think that's something that's very telling too. The basement, how you noted, they're talking about the basement and then suddenly Tammy changes the subject off of that. I think the basement is something that is completely just overlooked and kind of fluffed away by this whole investigation. And I find that really frustrating. Dave says, looking forward to part 12 of this interview. But yeah, we can keep going. I just find all these things are just so important to go back and listen to his words again and pick them apart.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. It just seems very apparent in the little small part that we talked about, the guilty plea and just ending things. It just seems like Chris being somebody who doesn't like confrontation, who obviously was looking very bad at this point from
Yes.
so many angles. Sort of like I'm going to save everybody, including Shanann's family, who obviously didn't want to go to trial for years at a time either. Hindsight's 2020, because here we are now, still discussing it, rather than other cases that just sort of fizzle. Even though they are infamous, they're not really dwelled on because you have the answers with the DNA, etc. So it's just crazy. It's like very ironic.
I completely agree. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
She put it in your head or asked you to, or
No, she never. I mean, this whole relationship contributed to it.
Sure,
but she never. She didn't want me to.
Hey, was it ever like, I wish you didn't have kids, I want to have, kids of my own with you? Like,
She never knew if she wanted to have kids, but she said that, at one point she said, I'd like to give you a son.
did she know that Shanann was?
See how like Tammy started that off with asking, like, did she ever say pretty much said exactly what Chris said that she did say, but she did say that she wanted to have a son.
Right. And that, to me, the way he answered that is kind of a red flag. Like, she thought she never wanted to have kids, but she wanted to give me a son. So it's like you have this woman allegedly saying she doesn't want kids, but yet she wants to give you a son. That sounds like a lot of manipulation, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I agree with Deco. It seemed like Tammy was stunned there.
Yes. As she paused, she was quiet for a second.
And then instead of going further with that, she said Shanann knew that, but she knew that Shanann was pregnant. And then it goes off.
Mm-hmm.
But really, Tammy asked that question thinking like he wasn't. I don't know. It's like she asked that question saying like that because that would have been a red flag if she ever said those things. And then Chris follows it up with pretty much saying like, yeah, she did say she wanted to give me a son. And then it's just like moved on.
Yeah.
Pregnant with a boy?
No.
Did she know Shanann was pregnant?
No.
And why is that? You just didn't tell her?
I didn't know. Because we had met.
But she didn't put that on Facebook.
That's
like, how did she not see that?
I don't know. Maybe she did. She just was waiting for me to tell her, or she put it out her head.
Can I ask you a question? A lot of people think you named Nico after Nikki.
I do think that it's possible that NK knew that Shanann was pregnant, but still wasn't like talking about it with Chris.
Say that again. That NK knew
Shanann was pregnant, but but never brought it up to Chris, but like knew it because he said maybe she put it out of her head. And I think that that's true. Like, I think it was like just something that she was like using as a leverage or something.
Right.
Until
And
she
I
needed
almost
it.
wonder, I know sometimes like if I know my kids have done something, or like I won't let them know I know, but I'll kind of drop hints to try to get them to admit it. And that's kind of where NK talks about, the protection and when they were last intimate and things like that in her 7-page notes. So yeah, I do wonder if she was, and same thing with I want to give you a son. Shanann said like, boy, 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 Chris wants a boy. So I believe she was watching all of that. And so, yeah, she was trying to see if he'd tell her. I see where you're going with that.
Yeah, and chat's pretty much agreeing, like manipulative,
Yeah.
and yeah, it just seems very plausible that Chris was telling the truth there. Like maybe she put it out of her head and maybe she did know, it's very strange.
And I think it's interesting right there how Tammy, I feel like this was kind of out of the norm for Tammy. She was kind of like, how would she not know? Instead of just kind of taking it as, oh, she didn't know. Like she did kind of push a little bit, like, how would she not know? She was looking up her Facebook, so she knew NK was doing that. And it seems like, Tammy realized she was lying, basically.
Yeah. But at the same time, I almost feel like Tammy had to have known that, I don't know. Who knows what they had looked at or whatever, because
Right.
allegedly the clock stopped, so.
Yep.
So what was that?
Nico was actually a name that Shanann liked.
Okay. Shanann thought of that one?
Yeah, I wanted to spell it like N-E-K-O. I thought it was like Nico that way.
Mm-hmm.
But she said N-I-C-O. And I thought it was like, something like Nico or something.
Okay.
Because Nico is more of like an Italian name.
Italian, yeah.
So, and like Chidley for, my middle name and my dad's and all that. But like Nico is like, that's a name that she always liked.
Okay.
Did she name all the kids? Did she name Bella and Celeste?
Yeah, Bella, because Italian means beautiful. Marie, mom.
I just don't get how we went from NK saying she wanted to give him a son to talking about who was allowed to name the kids.
Exactly. Like, I don't feel like they just don't hone in on the important, like, hard-hitting things that matter to the entirety of this very grave situation,
Yeah, it's just very strange. It's like, are we supposed to think that it just jumped like that in person, or are we just supposed to assume another redaction? It's just very annoying.
Agree.
Middle name, Celeste is her grandmother's name. Catherine's Shannon's middle name.
Did you have any input in their names?
I liked them. I was like, if we had a third child, I was gonna, maybe we could have like Lee in the middle name, but I knew like the girls' names. It was, I love those names, so I was like, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Especially like with the, you have little nicknames for them, like Belle and Belladine and Cece, obviously. So it was good, but yeah, Nico was, okay.
Can we go back to the house on the 13th? So, at one point, right when you got back there, and Coonrod was there, Officer Coonrod, and Nicole was there, and then you went in the house and you were for about a minute or so before you let everybody in. You remember what you were doing in there at that time?
I went into the garage,
right,
and then I ran around and I opened the front door.
Yeah.
Opened the front door for it. Did everybody come in through the garage or the front door?
Everybody came through the front door.
Yeah, so I came in, I went in through there, and I came in and opened the front door, and I ran upstairs. I just was like, I was looking around.
Okay. That's after everybody? Did you go around the house at all before you opened the front door?
No, I didn't run around the house. I stayed down on the bottom, on the bottom floor, and then went and opened the door.
Yeah, okay. Just curious.
And I ran upstairs and everybody else, and that's when Nicole's son.
It seems like Baumhover was trying to figure out what was going on, like what took him so long to get through the door.
Yeah, I agree.
Because it was like over a minute or something. I remember we did like the countdown one time.
Yes. Yeah, I feel like it was right around like a little bit over a minute.
And
I
I
need to
don't
write that number down.
Yeah, I don't even know if I believe Chris here. I feel like there's something shady about that time that, he took to open the front door to them.
Yeah, I would love to know what he really did. And while I think that he was looking for the ring in the Lexus, I mean, I would still love to know what exactly and why it was in there. I mean, I have my theory for why it was in there, if it was the ring, which I think it was, but none of us really know for sure.
Right.
And yeah, I was just going to say, Chris Watts wasn't technically convicted. He pled guilty. And Karen said 1 minute, 9 seconds for the door.
That's a lot of time. Thank you, Karen. 1 minute, 9 seconds, like when there's sort of like an emergency type thing going on. Like, of course, we know that Chris was hiding something. But what exactly was going on behind closed doors at that point? What was he running and scrambling and cleaning up? Or was he closing the back curtains because somebody was leaving? Like, we don't know entirely what.
Going from acting like it was walking through the house.
Yeah. She didn't have her bra on. Was that normal that she would sleep in her bra?
Every once in a while. I mean, she just got home from the plane, so she didn't even take off her makeup or anything. Maybe she was just that tired. But normally, I don't know.
Did it not come off when you guys had sex?
I don't think so. Sometimes she just,
It seemed like Tammy thought that she was gonna like catch him and like some like lie there. Because remember he had talked about how they had sex, like I think in part 2, maybe we talked about it. And did she not take it off when you had sex? Just seemed like she thought she was like getting one up on him.
Right. Yeah. And I just feel like once again, in the big scheme of things, like that's just not really a point that needs to be honed in on as much, just my opinion, but it's just odd that they picked.
Tanya said, what a gross question.
Yeah.
And it's like if you're trying to get at like what exactly how quick did something happen when Shanann got home, like then get at it like in a different manner.
Right. There's other angles.
Bra on. I know so many people who sleep with a bra on.
Yeah.
Especially like I know a lot of people don't, but especially with her being pregnant, sometimes larger chests get even larger. And if it was comfortable for her to have a bra on, I can totally relate.
Mm-hmm.
So I just don't get like where, Gwendolyn said, Tammy never fails to be a complete annoyance.
Agree, Gwendolyn, 100%.
Tammy is cringe in my opinion. I know there's just like so many other directions like this could have gone down. And we end up dwelling on, like you said, the little irrelevant things in a way,
Yeah. I feel like that it happens so much throughout this interview.
Yeah, like Nutgate and Thrive even.
Yeah.
She keeps her shirt on and she doesn't want me to do anything. It's like, she wants what she wants. She knew what she wanted. That's what she wanted.
Was it just missionary sex?
Yep.
And when she...
Okay, real quick. If Tammy had to ask that, why not just say, what position was it? If she needs to know that, like, was it just missionary? I mean, and Chris answers, yep, so fast.
Yeah, and I don't believe that.
No, I feel like he kind of like about the alleged mosquito bite on his neck. What's on your neck? Is that a mosquito bite? Yep. Like he's agreeing with her.
Yeah, and I've bounced around in whatever part it was that we talked about them having sex at night. And now that we're just listening to him talk about it being missionary, like, no, don't believe it. Didn't happen. She was too far pregnant for that to have been comfortable. She'd just gotten home from the airport, still had her makeup on. Like, I just don't think that they would have had like face-to-face missionary sex. In my opinion, I just don't see that being likely. And now I'm back to thinking that he is lying about them having sex.
I used to be like 100% no, they did not, have sex. But the one thing that kind of, I remember NA saying that Shanann was saying that she just wanted to go in and hug Chris, where if I was going through what Shanann was going through, I'd probably be messaging you, Amber, and be like, I want to go in and like slap the crap out of my husband. I'm not abusive, but I would want to like go in there and fight with him.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to say slap, but you know what I mean? So for her to say she wanted to go in and hug Chris, I do sometimes wonder if Shanann did try to test him and it ended up happening. But ultimately, I don't think they did.
Right. Like, I feel
But
like
Ann's
him
comment is
saying
interesting.
missionary would have been, I mean, if it wasn't missionary, sorry, then maybe. Now we're getting in like all the technicalities, but it actually does matter in my opinion. Because it gives you like the timeline of like the possibilities of what took place that night. And now I'm just feeling like I don't think they did have this like sexual experience, but I don't know.
Right. Yeah, because I'm with you. Like, I feel like it's important either way, to a degree at least, because it does. It fits into the entire timeline, their state of mind, things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true, Allison. See, that's another reason I've kind of pondered, did she? Because she mentioned how she tried to initiate it with him at one point and he refused. So I was thinking with the NA saying that, she wanted to go in and give him a hug, maybe she tried to initiate it again and it did happen, but I don't know. I mean,
but then we also have NA saying that she didn't eat or drink and was not feeling well.
Right. So, yeah. I mean, well, who knows?
I know.
So frustrating.
When her final resting place, was that just naturally what she was wearing? You didn't change her or anything like that? Okay.
Did you have to see any of that stuff? Pictures or anything? No.
I asked not to.
Okay.
They said I could. I was like, no, I don't want. I've prayed for those hazmat workers that I'm sure it was hazmat, right? That had the.
You're part of it.
Yeah. And like,
We were all there.
We were all there.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I never wanted to see it. I just prayed for that. I was about to have to be there. I never wanted to know what the aftermath was. And they said, like, if this ever got like a preliminary hearing, that I would have to see him just to be prepared.
And he's saying that he never looked at the photos from the crime scene. He didn't want to. So the fact that they got him to get the plea deal, he never had to look at them then. So it's just like another example of something that worked in Chris's favor. If he didn't do it entirely, not having to look at those photos would have been reason enough possibly for him to just say like, okay, fine, where can I sign it?
Yeah, good point.
Like, to save his own mind and everything, it was worth to him in that moment to kind of just take it for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just kind of close the book on it and take it.
Yeah, and then he never would have had to put himself through having to look at the photos.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Not have a reaction, an initial reaction, but I was like, I don't want to see him.
Do you feel like your lawyers were fair to you?
Yeah, they were my only human contact, really.
Yeah.
So they're kind of like, almost like a guidance counselor, almost.
Yeah. Did you feel like you were driving the bus, though? With your decisions you made?
Yeah, I was like, there's a lot of things I didn't really know what was going on behind the scenes. Like,
sure.
Maybe there's a lot of things they never told me. Like, like stuff that came out like afterwards, like the whole Nikki Kessinger article in the Denver Post and all that kind of stuff. They told me like afterwards and everything, but I always felt like anything I was telling them, they were going to do. Like the whole taking the plea deal and everything, I told them that's what I wanted to do, and they asked me like, seems like 100 times. Are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure? Like, once you sign this, like, I guess like up until sentencing, I had the time to like, back out. But like, they always, even before we walked in the courtroom, like, are you sure? So yeah, this is it. Okay.
It's interesting that he said afterwards he found out about the Denver Post article with NK because, well, we know she didn't do that interview until after everything was signed and done, I believe. And so when he hears about it, it's already said and over with. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
So it's like, I wonder what would have, if that would have changed anything though, like, if she did like make statements to the media or whatever beforehand, what would have happened? You know what I mean? Like, would he have felt like, you know what, screw this, I'm gonna fight, and that whatever they're saying isn't the truth. But she avoided like her statement and all that until everything was done and over with.
Yes. Yep.
So, and then all of a sudden he's probably being told from family and all that, because at one point he said him and Jamie talked and she was trying to, NK was saving face or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
But I just feel like part 4, we will end at this point. And yeah, like Dave said, it's going to be a few more parts to this. Hopefully I can conclude it before, hi Punksy, and I seen Pink Dahlia came back. Hopefully I can end it before we get to like part 10. But there's just so much that like we just can't skip over.
Exactly. Yep.
But yeah, what do you guys think? So thus far, everything that he's said, I feel like there's very small truths in there.
I agree. And I feel like there's a lot of slips. I mean, especially in the earlier parts, we heard a lot of wheeze, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I feel like part 4 in this segment, we've noticed a lot more of like the editing.
Oh goodness, we lost her. This is the first time this has happened on her channel. I've disappeared on my channel before. Seth says, oh, she's back. That was fast. Glad.
Sorry.
Like, what I do?
No, sorry. I was just thinking, and I don't know if I said it, but I feel like in this part 4, we notice more of like the editing and the cuts, like in the audio
definitely.
and the conversations.
Yeah, because I think that, again, even beyond the cuts and the redactions, even with Chris, what he doesn't say is important as well, I feel. Same with everybody in any case or interview. Like, what they tell you is important, but what they leave out is also important.
Exactly. And I just think like a important note here was Tammy asking if NK ever said anything about children or whatever, and then he says, like, we talked about her never wanting kids, but she did say she wanted to give me a son. For that whole conversation to be opened up, Tammy was obviously like asking that question because that would be a concern to her if something along those lines were said. And then Chris pretty much says, like, yeah, like pretty much like how he was talking about the Vivint alerts. And he was trying to lay it out to her, Tammy, and she's just like, I don't know if it was on purpose or what, but she's just like not picking up on the hints he's pretty much saying. He directly tells her things and she either bypasses it or it's in a redacted audio that we just don't hear.
Right. Your video on that is so good because you even kind of show how Tammy's looking up at the camera. Again, I just feel that Chris lies so much, but at the same time, he does give little hints, kind of how he always was saying they could have gone out the back, no cameras in the back. He talks about the garage door quite a bit. So Yeah, the
And
Vivint
it's
stuff is
unfortunate.
so frustrating.
Yeah, because the things that you think would just kind of be a possibility anyways, like them being taken out the back, were never explored early on. It was ignored. And now
Yeah.
we have Tammy saying, like, she never said anything about children, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, she did tell me that she wanted to give me a son. So it's just like, okay, they are getting this information directly from him, and they could probably align with texts and all that and find out the truth behind it, because he's saying he didn't delete everything and nothing's being done because, they got the conviction and all that, and he's in prison.
Yep. And so I really don't think they expected the public to take the discovery and take the interviews and dissect it and, really look at it like we have. And here we are almost 4 years later. And I feel the case is just as big as it kind of ever has been. I mean, they've released the video of her interview now. Court TV just talked about it. So it's just so frustrating.
Yeah. I definitely agree that, like Dave said, where is the non-existent text Tuesday? We don't have anything from Tuesday.
And the only texts between NK and Chris Watts that are in the discovery are the ones that she sent to Kobach in the form, when you send somebody a screenshot of a text or page or whatever. She sent those over to Kobach. Those are the only ones included in discovery. We have no other texts from them.
Right.
At all.
It's just a lot of red flags. I've come to the conclusion from another part in these series of the prison interview, 3 years later listening to it, that I just feel like there was more people involved in this horrendous crime. And we'll just keep digging, I guess, and talking about it, and that's all we can do.
Yep. Yeah, the Pink Dahlia says, and she refers a lot to them.
Yep.
Yeah, about the texts, yeah. She's like, you guys need to pull my record. You guys will find it.
You'll see in the text.
Yeah. And what about your apps? NK, you say you have no apps, but your cell phone bill showed differently.
And it's very easy for her to say to Chris, like, we're going to text on Tuesday, like a Monday night. We're going to text on Tuesday and
Yeah.
just follow my lead. And that's our last time texting.
Yeah.
So when she's telling the officers, you'll see it. It's like, okay, that was already probably a staged conversation the entire day.
Yes. And she even describes it. I think it's in that like sign off text, like the sign, like she says the sign off. So that, to me, I see what you're saying with stage. Like she had a staged exit ready to go.
Right. It's just already laid out the narrative. Pretty smart. Thanks for the super chat. What was your question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just love reading comments. Like Hunt says, imagine she rushed in and was ambushed. I mean, there's so many theories about what happened when Shanann walked into the house.
Right, exactly.
I don't know. No.
And thank you, Jody. Is cool. I appreciate that. She said we're spot on. Did I miss a question? What are your thoughts on NA being in the house earlier Monday? There's just no evidence to say that she was. I know that it's been theorized a lot. We don't know for sure if those basement windows were all locked because they didn't check all of them, right, CDT?
Coonrod said he checked all of them, but we don't see on body cam that he checked all of them. Could they have been checked off body cam? Yes. But he did not physically try to open each one on the body cam. But CDT, the Discovery did say they were all locked. if I can answer that question, my opinion is I haven't really explored that avenue about NA being in the house prior, but I think if she was, it's not really anything like nefarious. Maybe she did gain access, kind of looked around, maybe did find Shanann's phone. I mean, I don't know. I personally don't think that happened, but if it did happen, I don't think it's that sketchy, really. Like, maybe I do think it's weird if she was in there and she's not telling. But again, I haven't really looked too closely at that angle or,
Yeah, I just don't see much of a like you said, nothing nefarious. Pretty Smart said Baumhover asked for the footage of who came from the house when alarm went off. We see her coming from the house and her car not there. Garage. Yeah, I just don't think ultimately there's anything to speculate upon with NA being involved, like you said, with anything nefarious. But I
right. And I don't
appreciate
even believe, I was just going to say real quick, I don't even believe that she did go into the house at this point. But if she did, yes, she should have told them. But I don't think she did anything, wrong. I don't know. I don't think NA has anything to do with it. That's just my opinion, though. But
yeah, I just don't see it really being even if it was like a possibility, I don't think that I mean, it just goes along the lines of like if they knew that possibly behind the scenes and maybe they pushed the plea deal because they knew that their crime scene or whatever was already tainted and it just didn't look good for a trial, but it has nothing to do with like the murders.
right. Yeah. And I mean,
And
the crime scene was also tainted by the police, the alleged
mhm.
crime scene, like quickly.
Yeah. Like even when they were in the bedroom and they seen the sheets on the floor, they I think Coonrod was like over there like picking them up and like sifting through them. It's
Yeah.
like his hair could be getting in the sheets, you know what I mean? Because he's like leaning over them. It's like definitely. Yeah,
Hmm.
I definitely agree. Sleepless in South Africa. And on that note, that's a good ending. NK is nefarious. She's what we should be worried about.
Agree.
Um,
Yep. No gloves, deco painter and tea.
yep, no gloves. I feel like Chris was sort of treated like a friend by the police right away. Like Coonrod didn't seem like he was really on to him right away. Like he was even kind of defending him to Nate in Nate's house.
Yeah. Yep.
She's definitely not innocent, Seth, in my opinion.
And I like Amanda's comment. People who question why, NA and didn't go in yelling. Well, Chris had gone in first. And like you just said, they had been setting off alarms. Even Nick said it would have woke her up if she was in there. They had been knocking. Dieter was
Right,
barking on and
exactly.
off towards
They
them.
obviously knew at that point yelling out loud wouldn't have really done much.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate everybody in chat and everyone who chatted and listened to this again because I know everyone mostly has already heard this interview, but I just feel like we keep finding little things and it's just interesting to go back over 3 years later. And I really appreciate you coming on, CDT.
Of course. Thanks for having me. I always love talking to you about anything. And of course, always Watts. So,
Yep.
and I love, everyone in the chat. You guys are awesome. And I enjoy seeing all of your comments and what you guys catch too.
And tomorrow you'll be going live on a Watts related live stream in the afternoon, right? Like around 1:15?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So if everyone is available tomorrow, check out CDT. She's going live on the case then. You all know that Seeking the Truth with Dave covers the case. So in case you guys want to visit Watts Island at any time, you can find it on multiple channels because this is just a really fascinating and, just gut-wrenching case that we just feel like we can't let go of for whatever reason.
Yeah,
You're
definitely.
funny, Seth.
Yeah, Brenda says, why didn't the police look in the bathroom that AM? Yeah, Coonrod apparently didn't really try to open it until Baumhofer got there. Because he's like, oh, it's been locked. Like, they could, be in there dead or something. Like, I don't know. The way it was dealt with from the start was
Ultimately, it
frustrating.
does come down to that. Yeah, I agree. Right from the start.
Yeah. Jody says we're all addicted. Yeah. We are.
Unfortunately, like it's not like we want this. Like we have nothing else going on. Like you don't even know how many times I've scrolled through like Netflix or whatever and been like, "Oh, I used to watch that show and I'm so far behind in it." And I'm just like, "But I
Yeah.
could be reading up on like the Discovery again. I know there's something I missed."
Exactly. Let me go listen to this interview.
Yeah, and it's like, trust me, I could be watching some brainless something that doesn't stimulate my mind as much as true crime, but here I am. It is what it is.
Yep. It's just when there's such what appears, and I think there is a definitely injustice here. There's corruption. There are so many questions with the way the case was handled, how quickly the house was released, how he did not admit to killing his entire family, but they went and told the media that he did. I mean, there was just so much. And then, yeah, could it have been honestly that he acted alone and there was no shady mistress and no leave Jim alone who happened to come in town? I mean, yeah, that could have happened and it would have been fine. But, in this case, I really feel there is more to it. And we did have a shady mistress who Googled them and pinged and et cetera, et cetera. And then it's just all crumbled. And that's why I can't let it go.
Yeah, and of course there'll be other cases that we will obviously cover and do cover. So just check up on both of our channels and our community pages also for updates. And yeah, once again, thank you everyone, and we will talk very soon. And yeah, this case just is here to stay, unfortunately, because the shock factor of it.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you so much for letting me up here to talk with you. And thank you to everyone in chat for, just being open minded and chatting through it with us.
Yep. So thank you. Bye, everybody. I am so terrible at goodbyes. So goodbye, guys.
Bye.